thoughts, powerful thoughts perfect for science and mind treatments. So I'm going to give you a little background on it, and you can ask questions, whatever you want. I'm going to start with a history of science and mind treatments. Ernest Holmes created a philosophy of thought that was much in alignment with Ralph Waldo Emerson, Judge Thomas Troward, and Jesus of Nazareth, and lots of others. Dr. Holmes sensed God everywhere and felt that the guidance of spirit was a very real experience. Early, he discovered that when certain principles are used for good, they are predictable. Repeated outcomes and demonstrations happen. He and his brother Fenwick Holmes opened a sanitarium in 1917 for people that desired affirmative type prayer. Holmes called this prayer mind treatment because it was scientific in nature and would produce healing when used. Therefore, it filled the role of treatment. He set forth 3 steps, only 3, in his Science of Mind book. He believed that was effective in coming to a place of knowing the truth, wholeness, your wholeness. And many years later, Orrin Moen, who was the head of education department of the Institute of Religious Science, added step 4 and 5, Thanksgiving and release. We now refer to this healing tool as spiritual mind treatment. We treat our minds to be in line with spirit and divine mind. And I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with his brother, Fenwick. Fenwick Holmes wrote many books on his own. And my favorite is The Law of Mind in Action, which he wrote in 1925. And he also did another one that's very popular, is How to Develop the Faith That Heals. He was like a poet, very fluent. So if you like to hear science of mind and kind of flowery things, he's a good one to check out. So I'm going to read this. This is Ernest Holmes' treatment, but this is only 3 steps to give you like a little idea of how it is. So step 1, I know there is but one power in the universe, and that power is God. That power magnifies and through all form, all people, all conditions, and so it is at the very center of my being. This God power is me. Step 2, this power is life itself, and its nature is love, all good. It contains all wisdom, peace, joy, and strength. At the center of my being, I feel this perfection in me. I know it is all around me. Everywhere I turn, I behold it. It is my whole being. Every cell and atom of my being, every thought and feeling, my every act is an expression of this God power. Step 3, I know that love protects its own. I know that love now makes clear the way before me, eliminating every seeming obstruction. I am guided into an ever-widening unfoldness of being, and I rest in perfect joy and peace. One with all life, my every need is now fulfilled. So that's step 1, 2, and 3. And that's what he said gets him into the knowingness of his wholeness. So by changing the way we think and speak and act, our prayers become more effective. And as our prayers become more effective, we can literally see our world change around us. The key to these changes dwells in how well we know spirit and how well we know ourselves in relationship to spirit. The most effective way I've learned to do this is through the practice of science of mind treatments. So, what is science of mind treatment? It is called affirmative prayer, and it's a 5-step mental process used to activate the universal creative process. Through this, we become more aware of perfect, limitless divine presence that is now and has always been our spiritual essence. Spiritual mind treatment is not about convincing God to do something for us. It's about becoming more aware of the divine presence within us and using that awareness to create our lives. We are not asking for anything. You are claiming the truth about yourself or someone else. So the words that you use have to be words that mean something, words from your heart. And when you're starting, you can use words examples that I'm giving you. And then as you get into it, you change it to make it your own. So we use the principle of mind for treatments. Instead of asking for something, we are accepting something. Instead of hoping for something will happen, we are knowing that it's going to happen or it already happened. In giving treatments, we proceed on the assumption that there is an intelligent, creative principle in everything and everyone which responds to our word exactly the way we speak it. There could be no science of mind unless that was true. And when I say exactly, I think I told you before, when I was buying my home, I wrote a list of things I wanted. And I forgot to put in a garage. So I have no garage. So exact what you want, and you write down exactly what you are looking for.
Be careful what you pray for.
Right, right. So spiritual mind treatment is a series of statements logically presented to the principle of mind. And it's based on the assumption of perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being. This is one of the basic principles of science of mind: perfect God, perfect man, and perfect being. So the first 3 steps of science of mind are about how we perceive the world and ourselves. Our recognition of spirit, our identification of ourselves as spirit, and our declaration or realization of the truth of spirit all involve cognitive processes. Think about it. This is things we have to get our heads together and think about. And as we move into step 4 and 5, we call upon our emotional body to bring a heart connection to our treatments. So step 4 and 5 is about gratitude and acceptance. It's opening our hearts to the beauty of what we know is the truth. So we will start, and if anybody has questions, just let me know. So the first step is recognition. The teaching of science and mind are based wholly on the premise that God is all there is. This means that God creates all things and contains all of creation within itself. All of creation consists of God's stuff. We all have God's stuff. So spirit expresses through this creative process, and spirit experiences that which is expressed. Understanding that spirit is all there is not a destination, it's a direction. So spirit is omnipresent. It is present everywhere. All creation exists with spirit. Nothing exists outside of spirit because there isn't any outside experience. Everything and everywhere is spirit. Spirit is omniscient, which is all-knowing. All knowledge and all intelligence dwells within the mind of spirit. Spirit is every thought, every dream, every idea, every emotion, every vision, all nature and spiritual lore that has ever and could ever exist. Our thoughts and words are thoughts and words of spirit. And spirit is omnipotent. It is all powerful. And it is the power of all movement, all energy. There's no power outside of spirit. This power cannot be divided. Spirit is present in its entirety everywhere. And we are not part of spirit. We are all of spirit. Everything spirit is, we are full of God's stuff. So recognition is, what do you know about spirit? Do you feel spirit is truly all there is? You can ask yourself these things. Where is spirit? What is spirit? How do I feel when I think about God? So that's step one. And here's some examples of step one. And you could use these words and you fill in your own words if you want. But I know is a good way to begin, because it's stating what you know. God is all knowing, all powerful, everywhere present. God is the essence of all that is. God is good. God is great. There is one presence, one power that I call God. God is the ultimate creator. God is all love, peace, harmony, grace. God is all there is. Spirit is everything. God is under, over, around, and through all. God is eternal and changeless. God is love, intelligence, beauty. God is divine energy and all powerful. So the stronger your statement of recognition, the more powerful the results are going to be. And the more ambiguous the statement, the less effective your treatment will be. So this is step one, recognition. Any questions? Nope. All right. So it's just asking you, what do you think about God? And you just, whatever comes to you, and it changes. Okay? Step two.
Bob's
Oh,
got his
Bob.
hand raised.
All right, Bob has a question.
You have a question, Bob?
Oh,
I'm not hearing you,
Bob,
Bob.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Paul.
Oh, okay. All right, Bob,
No.
you got a question?
Yeah, I do. So the declaration, the strength of the declaration in this is, I think, backdrops what it is that how I am growing. So maybe this is, I'm feeling sort of a desire to hear more clarification of the strength of my declaration, what you said about that the strength shows up according to its own strength, which is redundant. But perhaps that will become more clear for me.
Yeah. Well, in spiritual mind treatment, I'm treating myself. So I have to get my head to the space where I know that I know. So this is all preparing me to get to that space. It's not about you or anybody else I'm doing the treatment for. I have to know in my own head. And the steps 1, 2, and 3 help you get to that spot. So it's getting your mind to where you want it to be. Does that help?
Yes. And what I'm getting is that the physical response and emotional response reshape only through my awareness of them.
That's right.
I don't pay attention. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has to mean something. I mean, you can rattle off all these words, but if it doesn't mean something, it's not going to get you in the right place. Okay?
Good, thank you.
All right. Step 2 is identification. Who are you? Step 2 asks you to go deeper to identify the very essence of your existence. The illusion of separateness seems necessary for us to function in the three-dimensional universe, but at the same time, it conceals from us the true essence of who we are. You are spirit. How would you need to change your language or your thoughts to match that awareness that you are spirit in form? Claiming our oneness moves us towards the awareness that we're seeking, carrying us further each day along our path towards enlightenment. Everything that spirit does actualizes in one or two ways: spirit expressing and spirit experiencing. Everything about our lives fits into these two actions. When we think, say, or do anything, we are expressing. When we see, feel, touch, smell, receive, we are experiencing. So everything comes from spirit in the form of creative expression, moves through law, and is received by spirit as the experience of what is created. This is the cycle of creation. Okay? Any questions with that?
I would add when you said when we think, say, or do anything, I would add when you feel anything. When you think, feel, say, or do anything,
We're
you are
experiencing.
expressing.
He wasn't the feeling person.
When we feel, we're experiencing, though.
Yeah, true.
Think, we're expressing, but when we feel, we're experiencing it.
The feel in that case is the sensation of feel.
Right.
And what I'm saying is when you feel the emotion or when you experience the emotion, that is also part of the expressive act, the act of expressing.
Uh-huh.
I always say, be careful what you pray for, and everything you think, feel, say, or do is a prayer.
Yes.
Well, Emerson wasn't the feely person. He was the logical one. That's why they tacked on the last two, the 4 and 5, to add the feeling and emotion into things.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think in the way that you're talking about feeling, Paul, it serves as kind of a bridge between perhaps experience and expression. Is that possible?
Well, I mean, if you pick up a nice soft blanket, you feel the softness of the blanket. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you're happy, when you're angry, when you're satisfied. That's what that
It puts out vibrations that are real,
that
right?
it's a little fuzzy because you're experiencing the emotion, but you're also choosing to express that emotion, because essentially all emotions are deliberate. You choose the emotions that you're going to you choose the emotions that you're going to express or that you're going to experience. And so that's why I say, the conscious feeling or the conscious expressing of emotion or the conscious being in an emotion is part of that, what in this context is called the expressing. And I say it that way because as I understand it, whatever you think, feel, say, or do is creating. That's kind of part of the spiritual mind treatment, is to get into this creative mode And that is the way you create, is through those four qualities, or through those four actions: think, feel, say, or do. Actions.
Actually, Neville Goddard's book, Feeling is the Secret, he actually seems to say that feeling is a primary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have that.
Yeah.
The stronger the feeling, the more.
Right. You can think, you can logically say this is one thing, but until you have the feeling of prosperity or
right. Now,
creative.
Let me make a distinction there. Think, feel, say, or do. Feel is the only one that lives in the subconscious. The think, say, or do are all conscious activities.
Right.
And the feeling is the subconscious activity, and your subconscious is your connection to spirit. So it is through spirit that we create things, and the feeling is it is through the subconscious that we connect to spirit, and it is through spirit that we create things. Therefore, it is the subconscious that is creating, and out of those four, feeling is the only one that is subconscious.
That's why it's so important.
Yeah. Now, the conscious mind can drive what's going on in the subconscious mind, and therefore it has power too, but it is not you think of stepping on the gas pedal as being what makes the car go. No, the stepping on the gas pedal is what tells the engine to make the car go. And it's kind of the same thing. The conscious thoughts, the thinking, saying, and doing are all conscious, but they are what's driving the subconscious, and the subconscious through the feeling is what's creating through spirit.
Yeah, it's creative expression. It's all creative expression, and it moves through law, and that's the cycle of creation. So, and then it materializes. So it's a cycle of creation.
We done with this slide? Next slide.
Yeah, well, each stage treatment is an opportunity to drive more deeply into the awakening of our true nature. What if you knew whatever you claimed as so was so? That's a kind concept. What if that's exactly how it works? Take the sense of potential into step 2. What do you want? What do you see? Begin to express the truth within you by clearing knowing that spirit and I are one.
Yeah. In that spirit and I are one, I was going through a class type of thing online, and one of the things he had us do is to meditate, still, quiet, everything, and feel down into your core, and you can feel that spirit, that connection down there and it's kind of interesting. And he said that's always there. You can always go back down to it and feel it, and it's there. And it was interesting.
Yeah.
There's before you go on, there's a exercise that this psychiatrist Robert Assagioli came up with decades ago, which was called disidentification identification, and it's a way also to help get us out of identifying with I guess the experience really, and truly identifying with going back up to what we see, hear, touch, we receive or experiencing, but to get us out of that and to get us into the true identity with spirit, knowing where all of those things that we are experiencing come from. He has you say, I have a body, but I am not my body.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I have a mind, but I am not my mind. You know, I have emotions, but I am not my emotions.
Jane, say his
What
name
I
again.
am,
What's his name?
Robert Assagioli.
Uh-huh.
Nice Italian name, Assagioli.
Can you spell
Yeah,
that?
ASS. I think it's, and then I think it's ASSAGIOLI.
Jane, can you find a pointer to that, and we'll send it out via the list?
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, so it's, you know, body, mind, and spirit that I have all, you know, no body, mind, and emotions. And so he says, you know, I have all of these, but I am not these. And so then you sit with each one of those, and then after a while, you're left with, okay, boom, you know, right. I have a consciousness that can say, yeah, I actually am not those things. So what am I? And so you are left with dropping into that place as you were talking about, and to really experience your real connection with spirit.
Right. Thank you, Jane. I also handed out when we did this the first time, I don't know if anybody remembers it, but it has an exercise, and it's blank where you fill it in, and it says spirit is blank.
Yeah.
I am blank. And that's a good, you know, thing like Jane was saying, you know, a different way of looking at it. And that's great for examples of identification for step 2. So some of the examples here I have are, I am one with God. I am. I honor the presence in me. God is love, and that I am love. God bless. My thoughts are God's thoughts. My actions and words are God's actions and words. There is only one mind, and I am part of it. All that God is, I am. God in me, as me, is me. Wherever I am, God is. The life within me is God. I am the manifestation of God. I am one with infinite spirit, which flows through me now. The one source is within me. God is within me, therefore I am perfect, whole, and complete. Everything is exactly as it should be. And my one that I love is Spirit breathe me as me. So that's examples of step 2. And step 3 is, what do you want? Realization, declaration. We use this step to realize that the truth of spirit is greater than any condition we experience. The idea of realization involves moving our awareness from the world of physical condition into the realm of causation, which is God, spirit. By realizing truth, we transcend the limitations of physical experience. By declaring that some condition or outcome exists, we establish it in the mind of spirit and allow the creative process to manifest our declaration into physical form. If we claim it, it is so, with clarity and conviction, and then the universe will support it being so. When we affirm an idea, we are making that idea firm, solid, and evident into physical senses. So that's realization. Now,
Kathy, can I make a little
yep.
comment there? It's interesting to me in this case that realization is kind of a double entendre, because, you know, we say that you realize something when you get it. You know, you get your mind around something, you say that you're realizing it. I realize that this is so. But realizing has another meaning, which is that realization is making something true. So it's not just the understanding something, but the taking something that's a dream and making it real, realizing something, which is taking it out of the fantasy world and into what we would consider to be the real physical world. So realizing is a function of creating, of turning something, of making something real, not just the understanding that something is so. So there's kind of two meanings to it. And in this context,
They both work.
the two meanings fit together and have meaning.
Right. Thank you. That's good. All right. So now there are 4 elements that go into making step 3 more into knowing what you want and makes it more effective. The 4 elements are, we realize the same truth applies specifically to use in these 4 ways. Number 1 is personal. All treatment has to be personal. We know that this truth applies to your own specific lives. So it is personal. So you use the word I know, I realize, I experience, and it is present. So we know that spirit as creative cause operates right here and right now. So we know that the truth of us happens in the present, regardless of the ability to see immediate results. So it doesn't happen tomorrow. It's not going to will happen. It is happened. And positive. Truth is positive in nature. This means that we focus on what we choose to experience rather than whatever we do not want to experience. So we never use no, not in a treatment. No negatives. Everything is positive.
Spirit has no concept of not.
Right, right. And some people do this. Some people do use negatives, and then they have to use a positive right after that negative. So it's easier just to not even go there, you know?
Well, you know, if you look at it from a law of attraction perspective, the law of attraction says whatever you put energy into gets bigger.
That's
Well,
right.
if you're saying no fear,
Yeah,
what you're putting energy into is fear, and that's going to get bigger.
yeah,
You know, the no is not what you're putting the energy into. It's the subject of the no that you're putting energy into, and that gets bigger. And that's why I say, you know, no and not. The negation has no meaning in spirit. Spirit really only deals with possibilities, not lack of possibility.
right, right. Thank you, Paul. And the next one is precise. To the point, we state the truth of spirit in precise terms that apply directly to our lives. When we are precise about the qualities we desire, we believe that we have the right and the ability to experience them. We set no limitations on how the universe reflects these qualities into our lives. Just be specific. Exactly what you want or what someone else wants that you're treating for. Specific. And it's like, the other thing I wanted to say, like if somebody asks you to treat for a relationship with Joe Schmo, I mean, you want to know what qualities they want in a relationship. It doesn't have to be Joe. It could be someone else. So you ask them, what is important? What are you looking to get out of a relationship? How do you want to feel? You know, I want to feel happy. I want to feel respected. I want to feel safe. So that's what you treat for. You don't go into treating for this specific person. Or a car. I want to buy this Mercedes. No, what do you want to feel like from this car? And you treat for those feelings, because this way you open up to more possibilities.
Mhm.
Yeah. On the, I have a comment on the open yourself to possibilities. On the personal side of it, as I understood it, as I understand it, when Ernest Holmes would treat for other people or for another person, and he did this quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What he was doing was not really treating for them, but rather treating himself for his own self, for his own thoughts,
Right.
this other person, his own impression about this other person.
Yeah.
So his concept was fix myself and my own perception of this other person, and that fixing myself in turn fixes, does whatever for the other person.
It's kind of like that guy in Hawaii, the psychiatrist with the mental institution, the homo, however you say that.
That's Tom. That's Tom.
That's Tom. Tom.
Right, Tom?
Yeah.
Pono or whatever.
That's kind of what he did. That's how he emptied out the facility.
Well, it makes sense that what you experience outside yourself is dependent on an inner state.
Yeah.
Right.
So whether it's a person, a thing, your whole exterior experience, it's an inside job.
Right.
What if you just end up going to a different dimension where that doesn't happen anymore or something?
Pops you into the dimension that you want.
Yeah. And Science of Mind is always about you. You have to see somebody healed. You have to get yourself ready. And in that space where you do see this, and if you're not there, you can't do a treatment.
Yeah.
It's just very simple. And you're seeing somebody here. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person. They don't even have to be there. It's
Well,
all about your mind.
Didn't we already say that there's no out there out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only the in here.
That's right.
We
That's right.
have this illusion of the out there. And so, we tend to be focused on the illusion when really what we need to focus on is the in here, because the out there is just an illusion. On the possibilities, I've come to understand it as being, well, first of all, the way the law of attraction, universe, gods, whatever you want to call it, works is generally the way things manifest are in a way that I would call an elegant solution. So it's not just that reality gets wrecked and whatever it is gets manifested. It's that everything meshes together like a gear. Things fit together. It's often quite beautiful the way it manifests. And so I've come to understand there's this infinite field of possibility. There's infinite, you say, okay, I want this.
Mhm.
There's an infinite way, an infinite number of ways that could come to pass.
And that's none of our business.
Well, see, the thing is, you say, okay, well, I want a new car that I feel less than such, but then when I say, okay, I want a Mercedes, now this infinite field
Right.
becomes 1/10 of an infinite. How many cars are there in Mercedes, or some part of it? It's still an infinite number of possibilities of how this can manifest, but you have subtracted from that 9 infinite number of possibilities of the way it could happen. So you're limiting
Right.
the way every requirement that you put on it limits the way it could happen. It's still, if you really look at it, it's still an infinite way, but it may take a little bit more energy for it to manifest. It may take a little more, meshing of the gears for it to manifest. It's a little more effort for it to manifest in a very specific way. Whereas if you open it up, then there's lots more ways for it to happen.
Well, that's where I was saying you treat for the feeling that you want.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
You leave it as open as you can, because that makes it an easier, that makes it an easier problem for the universe to solve. It doesn't have to tweak to as many knobs
Right.
to make it fall into place. The things that have manifested miraculously for Ann and I are ways that it's like, okay, the easiest way for it to manifest was for one little mistake to be made 10 years ago. So, the universe goes back and makes that one little mistake 10 years ago to make something happen today.
So
That's why I say space and time has no meaning in spirit.
maybe we should all treat for Kathy to get a garage.
I would like that.
Well, she may end up in a house somewhere else then that she don't like.
Yeah.
Right. All right, so some of the steps, some examples in step 3 is I claim, I assert, I know, I accept, I actualize, I am ready to receive, I hold as true, I choose, I am, I receive, I welcome, I acknowledge, I see clearly now with deep conviction right here and right now. So those are just some examples for step 3. Are we good?
Wonderful.
Okay. So now step 4 and 5 goes to your heart. Perhaps the most powerful emotional tool we have is authentic gratitude. It is about opening our hearts to the beauty of what we know is truth and creating a resource with that beauty, resonance with that beauty. We claim and embrace the presence of spirit no matter how the circumstances of our lives may appear. The most effective way of doing this is to give thanks for it even before it's here. To avoid sabotaging your treatments, we must maintain the energy of our realization by knowing without any hesitation that this already exists. And that's what I said, you have to get yourself in that space before you even start a treatment. The most effective way of doing this is to give thanks for it. And when we can generally be grateful for our current situation, we free ourselves to focus on our creative energy on that which we desire. Just know it is true. It is here. Be grateful for it and let go of how it's going to happen. It's none of our business how it's going to happen. You're just going to have to know that it's going to happen. So, examples of gratitude. I'm grateful. I appreciate. I'm thankful for this gift. I feel truly blessed. I thank and accept. Joyful, loving thanks. I'm grateful for all this and so very much more. I'm overjoyed. I give loving thanks. Humble appreciation. Gracious gratitude. So those are examples of step 4. Step 5.
Wait a minute.
You recording them?
I was writing it down for a minute.
Okay.
Carolyn, I will post this slide presentation on the website.
Yeah,
When we are being grateful, we are being grateful for the situation that the person is in. Is that correct? Or you're in? How is this? Are you?
We're grateful that it already happened.
Yeah.
All right. If you're praying for someone, you're grateful for them having this situation.
For their recovery.
I am grateful. I know that Carolyn is health and wholeness. Okay, I know. Now I am grateful that everything in Carolyn's body is working perfectly. I am grateful that she has everything she needs. I am grateful that Carolyn is health and wholeness. So you're seeing that other person as health and wholeness.
Okay.
And it's already here.
Right.
If someone is sick, you're grateful, you know that they have the perfect doctors, the perfect medicine to help them know the truth of who they are.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
Okay, okay. This is kind of hard for people coming in to Science of Mind to take this in, I would think.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of these concepts of being thankful for something that you're not seeing right now, yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch for some people, and it is to a degree a gauge of kind of how far along they are spiritually.
Well, the concept of you are God is huge.
That's very intimidating for people who have been taught you're supposed to fear God.
Yeah.
It took me a while.
Like God, you're not. Yeah.
That took me a while to even say, I am God. I mean, you walk up to somebody and you have to be very kind of not careful, but watch your words.
Yeah, watch your words.
When people are asking you what is Science of Mind, you know, you don't want to say, well, we're God in form, you know, that just
that's that thing, that weird thing that came out of California.
But the thing is that's not really what Science of Mind is about.
No, now, it's the oneness. It's the oneness.
The practice of Science of Mind requires you to assimilate that idea.
Right.
But that's not really what Science of Mind is about. Science of Mind is about by the way, you know, Methodism got the term Methodism for being a method of doing things. And that's what Science of Mind is. It is a method of doing things, but there are realizations that come as a part of that method that become part of the method.
Yeah. Well, oneness is our big, is the big thing in Science of Mind. We are one. There is no separate.
You really, it's like, okay, we do things in this way, but in order for this to be really effective and useful and so forth, you have to have these realizations that it becomes built upon. You know, yes, we have this practice and we do things in a certain way, but that practice is built on these realizations that we've had that become the foundation of it.
Okay.
On the gratefulness, I think a lot of you have heard me say that I have come to understand that all things are blessings, even the experiences that we don't enjoy much. Well, you know, you may not be enjoying the experience in the moment, but when you can really come to that gut level realization that all things are blessings, that good comes out of all things, then you can, rather than putting your energy into I don't like this, I hate this is not what I wanted, blah, 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 you can put your energy into, I wonder what the blessing is that's coming out of this. I don't know what the blessing is right now, but I know it's there. So, you know, I am receiving the blessing. I may not know what it is for quite a while, but I know it's there.
Well, it's the same thing that God is in everything.
Yeah,
so exactly. God is in the coronavirus. God is in, you know, God is in everything, and it's finding that God in everything.
But what I'm saying is that when you can really get into that realization, then the gratitude and thanksgiving comes naturally with this understanding that all things are blessings. And now the accepting that all things are blessings is a little tough for a lot of people, but you can get into the point where you can see, yes, I understand how this can be so. And once you kind of make that leap of, yes, I understand how this can be so, then it begins to integrate.
Yeah.
The
I
course,
think this is what got Shirley MacLaine in trouble when she said, "Remember, I am God." I think the book was out on a limb.
Yeah.
yeah.
I always want to
got-
read that. I haven't
It
read
got
that one.
who in trouble?
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, she's considered to be really way out there. But,
yeah. Nah, she just signed some mind.
yeah.
Tom, what were you going to say?
Well, so you're saying that if I get pulled over for a traffic violation, I shouldn't tell the officer I am God?
No.
You don't think
Tom.
I got nothing coming?
No, you should say, "I'm thankful for this ticket. This reminds me."
And the officer is gone. There you go.
About that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the course in miracles actually says that all things properly perceived are for man's benefit. And that's the same thing I think Paul's saying.
Exactly. Yes.
What is the blessing that's coming from this?
Yes.
Well, that's the same as that Bible verse, but but this is interesting. All things work together for good, but then there's the thing that follows it. It says, for those who love the Lord. So is it possible that all things are good, but if we can't embrace that we'll keep, hitting our heads with a 2x4.
No.
It'll feel like a
think
tuba.
if you don't see it, if you don't see that everything is God, you're going to be hitting yourself.
Yeah.
I've also heard
Right,
that the
or
monks
accept
added that one in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes
Yeah, so-
little things that are added in, but the thing about it is, okay, for all things work for good for those that love God. Really, all that means is that the ones that love God are going to come to that realization that all things are for
Right,
good.
they're going to get it.
They're going to get it.
And
The other ones experience it, but they don't get it.
Yeah.
They
and
don't have that
but to
realization.
get it, but to get it also means that when you accept it, then it's like you learn the lessons easier, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
And your life is happier.
Yeah, definitely your
Because
life.
you're looking at the positive, not the negative. So your life is much better.
It's like I say, when you really come to that realization that everything is a blessing, then life has difficult experiences. Life has painful experiences. That's just a given. And or maybe it does because we're holding it as a given. But when you experience it with the full realization that everything is a blessing, it changes the whole character of experiencing negative situations. Because instead of being focused on the negativity, you're focused on, okay, I know there's a blessing in here somewhere. I just am not seeing it right now. So, you're focused on the blessing and you're focused on the gratitude for the blessing, and you're not as focused on the not enjoying the circumstance.
Suffering is optional.
Suffering is optional. Yeah. And now here's what brought that realization to me. And that is that I came to recognize that the most painful experiences that I had in life, the most emotionally excruciating experiences that I had, are where I made quantum jumps in spiritual growth rather than evolutionary growth.
Yeah.
You can kind of grow a little at a time, and then you can have these little things that make you have this jump. And usually for me, the jump was that's where I was experiencing something painful. Now, I always rejected the idea that the pain was required to get the jump. It's just that was what my experience was. And Anne had the insight that the pain that's involved in that jump is not related to the jump. The pain is related to the resistance to change.
Yeah.
It is the resistance to change that causes the pain. If you could have this experience and be not resisting it, to be going with the flow and so forth, then you can have this quantum jump and not have all of the pain and drama that goes with it.
Right.
Who's on the phone?
I don't know who's the 434. The 190 is Nita.
Nita, have you got anything
Yes.
to say?
No, I'm just listening. That I've been taking notes, and it's very interesting. I did get in trouble one time for trying to tell somebody that was experiencing something that they deemed negative, and by most of our things being in a very ill state of health is not what we think of as good, but you have to be careful. If somebody is not ready to hear that everything is good,
Yeah.
you may not want to tell them that at any particular moment.
I mean, an individual has to come to that realization on their own.
Right.
You know,
And
you
you-
can't,
Yeah.
can't
It's
cram
like
it down
a
their
kid.
throat because they're
It's like,
No, you can't.
yeah.
You can't even. Sometimes you can't even mention it. You know,
Yeah.
not cramming it down their throat, but sometimes just the bare mention of it kind of is a.
It's like when you're dealing with children, you give them just the amount that they're looking for, you know?
Right.
you give them what they're ready for.
Yeah.
Right,
You know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
right.
Until the student is ready, they're not going to recognize the teacher as being a teacher.
Okay, are we ready for step 5?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I would say before we move on, well, just to put a last little touch on what we were just talking about, I would say that compassion is always welcome and called for.
Oh, yeah.
And in every step of our own spiritual growth, to be able to give that and to express that for others. That's the thing that will enable others to be able to hear
Right.
the message of good in the first place.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you. Okay, release. Release is about getting out of the way and allowing all of spirit to reflect the truth back to us, unencumbered by our limited thoughts and beliefs. So we're just removing everything and just letting God do it. The process of release accomplishes 2 distinct outcomes. First, by releasing your spiritual mind treatment, you are getting out of the way and allowing the full potential of your realization to manifest into being. So you're getting out of the way. You don't have to know how it's going to happen. You're just going to know it's going to happen. So you are opening up and allowing all the power and potential of divine spirit to support you and to express your desire into physical form. So you're getting out of the way. And second, when you let go of your realization, you are creating a space in which your manifestations can and will fully materialize. So you're getting out of your head and you're just knowing. Only one thing can get in the way of full expressing of your treatment, and that is you. The power of treatment dwells in believing what we think, say, and do. And you treat until you absolutely believe every word. When you absolutely believe your treatment, your demonstration will appear. Divine presence exists inherently within us, which means that we always know what to do. Spiritual mind treatment contains within it an element of choice. When we treat, we recognize the presence of spirit and we choose to live our lives in that state of consciousness. We choose to be true to our divine nature. We choose clarity of action, and we choose to be open to all possibilities of spirit. I love that. We get to choose. So some examples of release: I let go and I let God. It is done. It is perfect. It's complete. I release it and let it go. I release this treatment into creative law with the assurance that all the details are taken care of on the level of manifestation. I release this into loving law. I release it back to spirit, knowing spirit is all there is. So you're just kind of getting out of the way and knowing it's done. So I have some questions that I'm going to give you answers to. So this is...
I release and I let go.
Oh, that's a good one. So this is some of the mechanics of treating. So if you're treating for someone else, remember that you're treating for yourself. You're not treating to the other person. You are speaking within your own consciousness about that person. You never use the pronoun you because you're not in a conversation. You never address it, him or her. You're only speaking to yourself. Your realization is about them, not about you. So you're realizing this, you're seeing somebody in health and wholeness. It's getting your head there. Okay? And you can only know your own realization because the work is done entirely in your own consciousness. When you treat with other people, you could say, I know, I realize. An example would be, I know for Jane, I accept for Paul. We cannot, and the other thing is we cannot know what other people are thinking. So try not to say, Carolyn knows, because you don't know what Carolyn knows. So you just have to know what you know. So don't presume that Bob knows, the answer to whatever he's looking for. You're treating yourself. So try not to use that word knows. And when treating for yourself, you use the I, not the we, and you can only speak for yourself. And when treating for somebody else, you use their name. I know for Jane, I know for Paul, I know for Anne. And we're always using the present tense, not the past. So use is or not was or will be. And each treatment is an entity in present time, and it is released into lore in present time. And another thing, when we release it back into lore. So it's good to mention lore in the release. It's, you're not releasing it to the energy, you're releasing it to the lore, which is the universal creative medium that accepts and demonstrates. You can say other things, but try and get that lore in there, because lore is your thoughts go into lore and then they manifest. So it's a process. You want it to go into lore. What you think becomes your reality. So that's lore. You want that to go through there. So some examples of all this is, today I see the divine pattern at the center of Tom's being. The presence and power of God are in Anne's life right now. Everything is harmonized and unified. Peace and love permeates Janet's life. Today, Mark dwells in wholeness, health, vitality, harmony, and well-being are Mark's very nature. I know the abundant life of God is present within Kent. It is manifesting itself as freedom, prosperity through Kent's life. I know every cell, every system, every organ in Violet's body is health and wholeness and working the very way it was designed to work. I know everything in her body is total homeostasis. So that's how you do that. And some questions that people bring up is, how long do you treat? How many times do you treat? Ernest Holmes says 1 treatment is all it takes. And if it happens, and it does, that's fantastic. If treatment doesn't happen immediately manifesting, consider treating once a day until you see the manifestation or manifestation. This is like one ongoing treatment until you know it's done. And you yourself have to absolutely believe that your treatment is true. In step 5, you release. You are also releasing any responsibility of the outcome. This is really important because this could drive you crazy. Yeah, it might look like the treatment didn't work, but we don't know how healing is working on somebody. It might not look physical like they're getting better, but it might have an internal healing that we're not aware of. And that's also a healing, and that's not up to us. So it might be a healing that we can't see, but it's still a healing. And we can.
And it can also take time.
Right.
So we mustn't be impatient with it, because I think the time that it takes has to do with the degree to which we and the other person that we might be treating for have come to the absolute belief in what we're saying. But
Right.
we must be patient, and that it can take time.
And here's another example. If you're treating for somebody that's in hospice and they're in the dying process, you don't want to treat that they are health and wholeness, because that's a real stretch that you can get there. You still can do that if you want to do that, if that's what they want. But you can always, always treat for their highest and best, because you don't know what that is. And that's like an umbrella kind of thing. You know, like if you cannot get yourself to where you have to be in order to treat for something, you always go to their highest and best. And that you can see, that you can get your head around. You know?
It seems to me that you should be able to treat for health and wholeness with the idea that the health and wholeness is about their true spiritual self, not necessarily their physical self.
Right.
So, you know, my impression is that, you know, when it comes time for me to go, the health and wholeness for my spiritual self is to go on.
Right.
Not
But
to stay in this.
somebody might be asking you specifically for this disease or something to go away. I want to be well. I want to be, and you have to get yourself in that spot in order to treat. And if you can't get there, that's what I'm saying. You can always say you treat for peace. You treat for love. You treat for calmness. You treat for highest and best, you know?
Yeah.
You can't say I'm going to treat so you feel better tomorrow. You know, that's you. If you're not there, it's not going to work. Okay. And words are just words. You have to be using words that mean something to you. You know, if you're treating and you're just mumbling something, it's not going to work. You got to be there. You got to feel the words. And you need to take time before you start a treatment to see the truth of people who they really are. And that's, you have to get there. And that takes practice, and it takes your mind. And the other question people ask, do we need permission to treat for someone? And the answer is yes, definitely yes. So you always need somebody's permission. If somebody comes and asks you to treat for Nita, and they're not Nita, you have to say, does Nita give you permission for this? And if they say no, then you say, well, can you ask her and get back to me? Or you can treat how they feel about this person. If somebody is worried about this person, and you can treat that for them. So you could treat that they are at peace. They know exactly what words to say to people. You treat how they feel, that they feel at ease, that they are calm, and they are in this knowingness that everything is divine order. So do you get that? It's like, that's kind of important. You always need somebody's permission. So you just talk to this person and find out why they want to treat for them, and then you treat for that in them. And then when you get somebody's permission, you could treat for that. And people ask, can you use the same words in a treatment? And you can use anything that works for you. You know, anything that resonates with you, you can use. It's good to change it up every once in a while, because that just makes you more aware of what you're saying. And in the beginning, you can use, you know, examples that we have given you. The most important thing is the feeling behind it. And I wanted to show you, this is a book that my minister wrote, John Waterhouse from Asheville, 5 Steps to Freedom. And this is all about science of mind treatments. And I've taken a lot of things from this book. So if anybody wanted to get that, 5 Steps to Freedom by John Waterhouse. So I was thinking, if people want to do this, I know it's getting late. I was just wondering if you want to try this, and somebody do step 1 and somebody do step 2.
Who made that noise? Who? Tom, was that you?
That wasn't me.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
All right. All right. And if anybody wants any of these information, you know, that it's going to be on the website. So any questions at all on anything?
So
Kathy,
Paul, is it just going to be on the website, or are you going to send it out by email?
what, the presentation?
Yeah.
Well, it's a Google Slides presentation, and we could send the link via the email. What I've been trying to do is put that link on the web page along with the programs. I haven't gotten the last few in, but I'll be a little more diligent about that in the next week or so. Kathy, when we're talking about having the words mean something rather than just being wordy, here's Matthew 6:7. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, where they think they shall be heard for their much speaking.
Yep. You have to get there. Whatever works, whatever you feel comfortable.
Little caveat.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
the key there is
Kathy,
vain.
do you want?
What, Jane? What did you say?
The key there is vain, not to use vain repetitions, you know, not to use the repetitions in vain. As long as you are believing them fully, you can probably repeat them a million times, right?
It's not about it's not about just spewing out a lot of words,
Right?
because those
Exactly.
words are empty. You know, just
So
blah, blah,
right.
blah. You know, you might.
are we going to follow the leader here, Kathy? Are we going to do what you asked us?
Well, I would like that if anybody would like to do that.
Okay, well, I'm in.
You may be the only one, Bob.
We need 4 more.
How about if I'll just start and say that there's one power,
Okay.
and we are that power.
Okay. That's good.
Go back to the next one.
How about?
Kathy, I have a suggestion.
Yes.
You can help us by backing up in the presentation possible affirmations for each of these steps.
That's what I did, Jane.
Okay, good.
So Bob did step 1.
And it can be simple. It doesn't have to be flowery. It can be just simple. So anybody
Well,
want
in step one, when Bob said, I am, what did you say, Bob? I am God? Is that what you said?
There's one power.
Oh, there's one power. Okay.
Yeah, and
Well, what are we treating for?
Oh,
you get to choose.
let's treat for
A garage.
Let's treat for peace
Okay.
or
That's all vague.
better
Do it,
politics.
Carolyn.
What?
Do it, Carolyn. Do it.
let's treat for peace in the world.
Okay.
All right, so who wants to do 2?
How about everything is exactly as it should be?
So we're on step 2 now.
Yeah, that's the last one in step 2.
Exactly.
Everything
okay.
is exactly as it should be. Okay.
Okay.
Next is step 3, the 4 P's: personal, present, positive, and precise. I claim peace in the world. I assert peace in the world. I know that peace is in the world. I accept the peace that is in the world. I embody the peace that is in the world. I actualize the peace that is in the world.
Okay.
Okay, so now step 4.
Well, I'll say step 4. I would say I am grateful for the peace that is present today and always with us.
Very good. And step 5?
Oh, I'll do this. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Very good. Yay!
Yay.
And if anybody needs any help, you can always call me. I'm very happy and willing to talk to anybody. So with that, any other questions on that? No.
That was good. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you
Yeah.
very
Thank you,
Yeah, I
Kathy.
think that was
It was
good, too.
very thorough. Thank you.
Good
Okay.
meeting. Thank you.
So
Thank you
now,
all.
next week, I'm excited. Stephanie White is going to be our speaker, and she's going to speak on EFT, which is the tapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's going to teach us that and give us some background and everything. So that we'll be sending out an email regarding that. And let's see what else.
Ann used to practice EFT, and she still does when I twist her arm.
So we received some donations by PayPal, and some people sent me a check. So I thank you for that. And we did get a bill for our meetup subscription, and we pay $16.49 a month to keep our meetup subscription. And right now we have 82 people signed up to our meetup. I don't know where they are, but they signed up.
That's pretty typical of meetup. You'll have a lot of people sign up and you never see them. It's kind of, for them, it's kind of like a placeholder. I would really like to do this, but they don't, you have to block out the time to do this and be,
Actually do it.
and
Yeah.
make sure that you put it in your calendar and, get when the email comes out with the link, they have to do something to actually attend. And it's really, unfortunately, just kind of a placeholder for them.
But they're looking for Science of Mind, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a blessing. They're,
Yeah.
And tomorrow is Memorial Day. So I'd like to put that in our heads to just think about all the lives that people have given up to keep our freedom and our peace. And we thank them for doing that. And I'll close with, so what I know is everything is a thought. So as we leave here today, Let's think thoughts of love and faith and health and peace, oneness, safety. And spirit moves in our lives. It blesses, heals, lifts us, and goes out through us and touches the lives of everyone we meet. And I give thanks for all we have learned and shared today, and for the gift of science of mind principles. So enjoy your week, and we will be emailing you and telling you what's going on next. And I'm working on my friend that's gonna teach some Buddhist principles too. Will be after that.
Oh, good.
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 Shall we do our last song?
Yeah.
Let's mute everybody.
I'm going to mute everybody.
Except for Jane.
Well, it's got the recording, so
Oh.
Yeah, that's recording.
it's like this thing lets me mute everybody with one button, with two button clicks, but then I can't unmute everybody with one button click. Well, maybe. Oh, heck, let's go back.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Rest in God and say amen. Ways, blessed.
Okay, that was great.
Let me unmute. We're unmuting everybody.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you,
Thank you,
Paul.
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you all.
Yep. If anybody wanted to hang around and talk a little bit, that's fine. Gee, it's not even 12 and I'm hungry.
You know,
Where are we going for lunch?
Where are we going for lunch?
Carol,
Okay.
bring me something from the kitchen, will you?
Bye.
Bye, Tom.
Wonder what happened. Bye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
Tell Pat hi
See you
for
guys.
us.
Wonder where Kent was today.
Yeah, wonder where Kent was.
It's pretty.
There's Betty Ann left.
I sent him a text.
Didn't hear back from him.
Yep. Stop share. There we go.
What's our name at
Still
PayPal?
recording.
Or PayPal.
There's Bob. There is a link on the website, and let me get back to. There's a link there. So somcville.org/donate.
They'll drop you right into it.
Paul, do you mean to still be recording?
No.
Let's see. Not necessarily. Let's stop